What made Jungkook finally speak with a trembling voice and teary eyes about his bandmate, Kim Taehyung, in the midst of an emotional moment during his military discharge? Why did his words make millions of fans around the world unable to hold back their tears? A moment that was not listed in any official agenda, yet it became one of the most emotionally significant events in BTS and ARMY history, when Jungkook, the youngest member known for his strength and reserve, finally released the emotional burden he had been holding. His shocking statement about Taehyung left the public speechless. What lies behind those unusual tears? On a day that was supposed to be a simple celebration of Jungkook's return from his military service, everything turned into the most emotional moment of the year. Jungkook, who had just completed his military duties with full dedication, was not only welcomed by staff and fans but also by someone whose presence he never expected, Kim Taehyung. The two had not met since they began their military service at nearly the same time, and the reunion became the starting point of an emotional outpouring that culminated in Jungkook's surprising public statement. Jungkook's statement, delivered just hours after he left the military base, became the main topic across social media. In a brief interview with local South Korean media, Jungkook said, "I didn't know he would come today. I was speechless. When I saw Taehyung standing there, I felt like time stopped. Over the last 2 years, I held in so many things I never said, but when he hugged me, it felt like all those emotions just poured out." This remark was met with tears from fans who had long followed the close relationship between the two BTS members. However, behind the tears and the embrace, speculation began to spread about what had actually occurred between them during their military service. Some internal sources noted that during the training and deployment period, communication among BTS members was very limited, especially due to their different locations. While there was no official information about internal dynamics during their military time, rumors claimed that Jungkook went through a difficult period due to emotional pressure and a heavy longing for his group mates, particularly Taehyung. In a further statement, Jungkook added, "For a while, I felt like I lost my direction. I wondered if everything would stay the same after the military. But Taehyung, he came without me knowing, just standing there. I felt like he reminded me of who I really am." This sentence was considered one of the most emotional and meaningful statements Jungkook has ever made publicly, given that he is known as someone who tends to keep his feelings private. A Korean pop culture analyst from Seoul National University described Jungkook's statement as a transformative moment in BTS history. This is not just an emotional reunion, but a powerful representation of the importance of emotional bonds and solidarity amidst the immense pressure they experience as public figures, said Professor Han Min-ju in her interview with the Korea Times. Some have also questioned whether this moment marks the beginning of a new chapter in BTS's career, especially amid various issues about the uncertainty of the group's future after military service. However, a source from bighit Music has not provided any official comment regarding this speculation. Still, the company uploaded a photo of the hug between Jungkook and Taehyung on their official social media with a simple caption, "Time never separated them." Fan reactions also revealed another dimension to this event. On platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and weverse, thousands of fans shared their personal experiences about how the moment inspired them to be more open emotionally and not afraid to express their feelings to their loved ones. "Seeing Jungkook cry and say how important Taehyung is in his life made me think about my sister, whom I haven't called in a long time," wrote an ARMY from Brazil. Reactions like this reinforce the narrative that BTS is more than just a music group. They are a cultural force capable of touching the deepest aspects of their fans' lives. To this day, there has been no further explanation from Jungkook about whether his tears were the result of pressure, longing, or something deeper. However, his reunion with Taehyung and his decision to express his feelings publicly have become a major turning point in how the public perceives the emotional bonds among BTS members. Entertainment industry observers predict that this incident will further strengthen the emotional connection between BTS and their fans at a time when the group's future remains a hot topic in various discussion forums. One thing is certain: Jungkook's tears and his words about Taehyung were not just a spontaneous outburst. They were a declaration that revealed psychological burdens, emotional tension, and an irreplaceable bond between two friends who have been through so much together. For fans, this is not just a post-military reunion. This is a moment of honesty, openness, and genuine love between two human beings who have built an unbreakable bond under the world's spotlight. Now the question isn't just why Jungkook cried, but what will happen next? Will this reunion mark the return of the group in full formation? Will these deep emotions be reflected in their future musical works? And more importantly, are the public and fans ready to accept that the BTS members are also humans who feel pressure and emotional pain just like anyone else? One thing is clear, this moment was not merely an emotional reunion. It is a reminder to the world that true friendship still has a place in the midst of the global entertainment industry chaos. And for the millions of fans who cried with Jungkook that day, his statement about Taehyung was not only touching, but also changed the way they view love, loyalty, and the courage to open one's heart. After the emotional uproar from fans and the widespread news claiming that Jungkook cried loudly in Taehyung's arms on the day of his military discharge, along with a statement that supposedly made millions of fans cry, there is a need to thoroughly re-examine the truth behind this entire narrative. In the entertainment world, especially one involving global figures like BTS, not all information that goes viral on social media can be immediately accepted as fact. It is important for the public and fans to understand that not all circulating news is based on truth or has been officially verified. In this context, the report about Jungkook's tears in Taehyung's arms must be clarified in detail. As of the time this article was written, there's been no official statement from bighit Music, Jungkook, or Taehyung regarding an incident, as described in the viral reports. No video or photographic documentation exists, showing that such an emotional meeting occurred on Jungkook's military discharge day. Major and credible sources in South Korea that typically report on BTS activities, such as Dispatch, Naver, and Yonhap News, have also not published any information or visual reports related to this surprising encounter. This raises serious questions about the validity of the widely spread narrative, but on the contrary, many fans active on communities like weverse and Twitter have pointed out inconsistencies between the timeline described in the viral reports and the actual activities of BTS members. Taehyung, based on official military records and bighit Music reports, was still serving in the military at the time of Jungkook's discharge. He had not received any leave or time off that would have enabled him to attend such a private event. This means the possibility of his presence in this meeting scenario is highly unlikely and most likely an unfounded assumption or imagined occurrence. Furthermore, the claim that Jungkook gave an emotional statement in an official interview on the day of his discharge also cannot be substantiated. There is no media broadcast or official transcript showing Jungkook delivering a touching statement that directly mentions Taehyung. What exists are only standard military release statements, including thanks to family, staff, and fans, without touching on personal emotions or specifically naming other BTS members. This indicates that the growing narrative is most likely derived from unclear sources or external imagination, later shared and embellished by various fanbase accounts without clarification. Such news is highly prone to fact distortion, especially when supported by strong emotional appeal and a global fanbase that is very active on social media. Often, fanfiction or speculation from large fanbases can quickly be taken as fact by the general public. In this case, it is undeniable that the news about Jungkook crying in Taehyung's arms contains major clickbait and dramatization elements, which most likely aim to attract attention and provoke massive emotional reactions from the public. But of course, it cannot be denied that Jungkook and Taehyung share a very close relationship, as reflected in many of their interactions over the years as groupmates. However, using their closeness as a foundation to build a sentimental narrative with no factual basis may actually be personally and professionally harmful to them. The spread of false information can also create emotional pressure on the artists themselves and make it harder for the agency to maintain their reputation and mental well-being. Issues like this serve as an important lesson for the media and fans in the digital era. Amid the openness of information, Everyone has access to disseminate certain narratives without going through a proper verification process. As a result, the line between reality and imaginative interpretation becomes increasingly blurred. In the context of the entertainment industry, where artists are constantly under public scrutiny, it is crucial for journalists, content creators, and fans to maintain the boundary between empathy and speculation. Promoting an emotional narrative that is untrue for the sake of engagement only blurs the line between support and emotional exploitation. In conclusion, it must be emphasized that as of now, there is no strong evidence supporting the claim that Jungkook cried in Taehyung's arms on the day of his military discharge. There are no media recordings, official photos, or statements from the agency or from the two of them that confirm this event. All information circulating is based solely on speculation, unofficial narratives, and emotional reactions that have spread without clarification. Meanwhile, fans are advised to continue following official channels such as Bighit Music, Weverse, and verified media for accurate and non-misleading information. BTS, as a global group, deserves personal space and protection from inaccurate rumors. Likewise, their fans deserve to receive factual and non-misleading information. In a world that rapidly spreads information, verification and responsibility are key. Let's maintain the integrity of our support for idols, not by spreading baseless news, but by trusting facts, supporting them helpfully, and giving them the space to be fully human, with their emotions, real stories, and the realities they choose to officially share.